Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Takeaway. And today's guest, we have Dan, and we're going to have you for a couple of weeks. We've started a new series, a new little mini-series at church. And we get to unpack praying the Psalms. And so, Dan, how did we get there? How did we get to this series, this mini-series?
Yeah, praying the Psalms. So we called this the series Wells in the Wilderness.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at 3 Psalms that all have wilderness connections, written in the wilderness. And so the practice of the Psalms has always been something that I've connected with personally. Some people find it easy to connect with the Psalms. The poetry, the imagery, the emotion speaks to them deeply and catches my attention. Some people struggle with it a bit because it's a bit all over the place, and it's hard to know, okay, where's the theology here? What are we taking out of this? And what has been a real source of life to my own personal spiritual journey over the last few years is camping in a specific psalm, taking a psalm for a longer period of time and using it as a template for prayer. Just very simply, and just purely out of my own realization that I need help to grow my prayer life. And we have the disciples, after 2 years of being with Jesus, asking Jesus, Lord, teach us how to pray. After 2 years, they were looking, God, how do we grow our prayer life? And so for me, I feel like I'm still very early on in that journey, and I've looked to some amazing, fathers in the faith that over the years have written on the Psalms, that have, really dug deep wells in terms of understanding the Psalms, using them. And so that's been a real blessing to me, and I really wanted to try and bring that to the church. And more than, the ideas, and more than just the takeaways from one psalm, like really my heart and my desire would be that we start to grow a practice of finding a psalm that speaks to you, whether it's something completely different, whether it's a psalm that's a lament or an upbeat psalm, but something that God's speaking to you in a season, and really poring over it, digesting it, getting to grips with what the psalmist was feeling, and just getting so much life out of it.
And you've been doing this for a number of years, and it's really kind of where you start and kind of like get going. And so you've kind of condensed this down into three preachers, but this past week you got to really speak on praying our perspective. Let's unpack Psalm 90, and just give us a short, just a little debrief of kind of the idea of what you Psalm 90.
So Psalm 90 is the oldest psalm in the Psalter, written by Moses, which we don't think of Moses as a psalm writer. And he writes it at the end of his 40-year wilderness journey with the Israelites in a 40-year cycle of turning away from God, turning back to God, missing God's heart for them, missing the lessons that he's trying to teach them. 40 years in the wilderness on a journey that could have taken a couple of days to the promised land. And he writes this psalm, and it's a lament psalm. It's a communal lament psalm, and it's got a fairly somber tone to it, and it talks to some quite heavy topics. And the beginning half of the psalm, it really draws this contrast between God and us. And it shows that in comparison to the eternal God, the creator God, the uncaused causer, that we as human beings are so small.
Yeah.
And finite and frail. And he uses the imagery of the dust and the grass that springs up and withers by the evening. And it's something that you wouldn't think you would hear often on a Sunday morning at church, because it's a hard reality.
Yeah.
Your life is short.
Yeah.
In the context of space and time, this time that we have on earth is short, and we aren't promised tomorrow. We might have 80 years. We might not be here next week.
Yeah.
That is the reality of our existence. And Moses, with his very somber lens, brings us the readers to this place of encountering our smallness in the light of God's bigness.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think I intuitively know and live with, but I can lose sight of so quickly when I'm trying to make my life matter and I'm trying to live my life for God, hopefully, but there's all these competing things that are trying to make me live my life in a certain way.
Yeah.
And competing for my attention and my time and promising me purpose, promising me meaning.
Yeah.
And this kind of just cuts across all of that.
Just
and
sobers
presses
us up
the
a bit,
reset button,
Yeah. No, that's so good. And then you kind of go into, you kind of spoke on the first point of our place and, in time and space. And I think understanding, just who God is and who we are. How would you say it's so important for us to just have that understanding in framing our prayer life, in the sense of understanding like you mentioned, the bigness of God and our frailty? How would that, in a sense, just frame or reframe our prayer life to some sorts, having that perspective? So having that perspective of if our perspective is we're trying to make our own lives great and big and all those kinds of things, I think it shifts and it gives us a certain viewpoint of what our prayers are shaped like. But what would you say our prayer life looks like, having that perspective of we're but a vapor in the wind, we could be gone tomorrow, we don't have this, and just the brevity of life and who God is. I mean, maybe just answering this for yourself personally, not that you're going to answer for everyone, but how has that shaped your prayer life to some sort?
Yeah, I think the toughest thing that we face in this busy life, or the toughest thing that I face, is to try and be present in the here and now, not in the past, and not always looking to the future and the hopes and dreams, but to live the life that I have today, live the reality that I have today, which is often said but very hard for me to implement. You know, the things that we need to do to keep life going and moving, our family responsibilities, our work, our need for health habits and sleep and all of those things, and realizing that today is the only day that I really have. And God, how do I have the correct perspective on today? How do I listen and hear what are you saying to me today? And I feel like so we talked about the first half of that psalm, and then there's this kind of pivot in the psalm where the psalmist says, "Teach me to number my days, that I may grow in wisdom." And I take comfort in the fact that there's a process there. Teach me to number my days. Teach me. I'm going to learn. I need to grow wisdom. I'm not going to have it just because I've read this verse. It's not a once-off aha moment. It's I need to revisit this place on a daily basis, saying, Today is the only day that I've got. My life on earth is short, but God has closed the divide, and God has made it possible for me to live today with Him, with purpose, and I need to find that purpose in today's activities, in my work, in my cooking, in my cleaning, in the dreaming, and in the meeting that I get to have with the stranger, but also in the mundane. And I think that's what I'm praying out of this is, God, teach me the wisdom of how to live in my context, in the perspective that you've given me.
No, that's brilliant. I mean, that's our response to this understanding, is that we want wisdom out of it, and we're learning to number our days. You've given us a nice perspective of numbering our days.
My wife did this so neatly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, this is an interesting practice. I saw this on a TED Talk, and some people do it day by day, ticking off their days to try and keep them in the moment. You know, and I think to an extent this is just, it's helpful in me getting context about how much control I actually have, and how much my mortality. I've already lived half of my 80 years. The green was my 40 years
of life.
And then I filled in some of the other things. I filled in red for time sleeping, and these blue blocks for our time working and cooking and chores. And what's left is only a couple of blocks at the end. And it's just a sobering reality. And I think the temptation for me is to now try and, in my own strength, optimize my life. How do I get manly wisdom to try and optimize my life, to get the most out of it, to make a dent, to leave a legacy? But the psalmist talks about turning to God. So the next verse, he cries out to God. I'm numbering my days, but it's actually saying, God, I'm not going to be the one that makes my days meaningful. It's your love. It's your mercy. It's your grace in me that is actually going to make these days meaningful. And I can't leave the meaning to these blocks. I have to trust that I can trust every single part of this life into His hands, because I'm not promised these. You know, I might only have one block left. And so, like, I would ask you the question, like, how do you live if you know you only have 6 months left? Like, do you still have to pay bills? Do you still have to clean nappies? Do you still have to eat normal food? Or do you throw it all out the window and say, I've only got 6 months to live. I'm going to forsake everything else and go be wild.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, you realize that even if I've got 6 months left or 40 years left, the life, I have to live life in the details. But it gives me that perspective to say, God, give me meaning in my days.
Yeah.
Lord God, and at the end of the psalm, these beautiful prayers where he talks about, where he says, God, may we see your work. May we see your work in our time.
Yeah.
You know, we were born for such a time as this.
Yeah.
And we see the brokenness in our country and in relationships. And God, I want to be part of your renewal.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, I don't often feel like I have the energy sometimes to be part of that, if I'm honest, because life is busy and life is hectic. But when I have this perspective and I realize what's important to God, may we see your work in our time. May we see that our children see your work. And then the last part is, and God, may you rest on us with your beauty, with your approval, with your loveliness. And would you establish the work of our hands? And I think it's like a bold prayer, actually. It's quite a bold prayer. Like, God, would you make our efforts successful? Like,
no, that's true.
It's quite bold. But he's saying, in light of all of this, when I focus my lens on what you want me to focus, I'm doing this for you, God. Would you make these days meaningful? Like, if I try on my own and I optimize and I make a few things efficient, it's not going to move the needle. It's not going to leave a legacy because I did X at my job or worked slightly more efficiently or whatever it is. Like, the only thing that's going to move the needle is a life that's filled with your beauty and your grace and your love. Help me, Lord. That's where I want to be.
And I think it speaks to, I think, a level of intimacy and a level of connection with God and understanding who He is and just what He's doing in our everything, in our daily lives. And we're not compartmentalizing our lives and moving it around, that it's all encompassing. And it's kind of the beauty of the chaos that we call our lives. But there's that intentionality of staying in community with Him, staying in connection and walking with Him, finding that finding that, we had the conversation earlier before this, but like, our wildernesses are going to look very different at different stages of our lives. And the idea is not to allow the external wildernesses to really affect our internal wells and where our source of life is coming from. And so it's understanding that no matter what wilderness or what sort of wilderness you're in and what stage of life, that you're connected to that well, you're drawing off from that well of life, that that God is that source. And I think that doesn't change when you have the right perspective of who He is and where we fit in this whole kind of scheme in time and space. And the world that we're in a world that is very broken, that is very selfish, that is very inward focusing, but we've got a God who is just abundant in his goodness and His kindness and His His provision and and all of those things. And understanding that we're not promised the next day, the next hours, but if we can almost just find that purpose and find that meaning and say, you know what, God, I'm going to walk this out with you. I'm going to, because it can be a bit of a sobering and a bit of a hard pill to swallow kind of a psalm versus,
Definitely.
So,
Yeah, and I think that's, the thing is, left to my own, I'll forget about this perspective in a few days' time.
Yeah.
And that's why I need to come back to a psalm like this and pray. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for this perspective. Thank you that you, even in my smallness, you sent your Son for me. I mean, that was such a fresh perspective for me when we sang the song Worthy is the Lamb, the darling of heaven, crucified, and thinking about, in the fresh light of the psalm, the Word who was outside of time, who kickstarted creation itself, just the grandeur of who God is, coming to bridge the gap and give His life for me, was just something fresh.
Yeah, I think it's so beautiful. I mean, you're triggering all these things. It's the author stepping into the story, becoming a character, And it's like, there's this huge perspective of like, he sees it, but like there's this beauty of the author becoming a character in the very story he's writing, in the very thing, and that's Christ for us. It's like this God going, I'm going to step into the story, this life that I'm creating, this world. And I, as someone who has the power to change the story, can step in and give us a perspective of how to live this life and how to walk it out and it's beautiful. So yeah, but thanks, Dan. We're encouraged for the next couple of weeks. It was I think it's a good start for us to understand, I think, our place, our perspective. I think it's a great place to start, because I think we can get discouraged, or we can get disillusioned, or distracted, I think, with everything. And when we have the right perspective, I think it starts that prayer life. It starts us in the right place to really start asking. I mean, I think these are some big questions that we are asking and praying, and some bold prayers. But we're excited for the next couple of weeks. I hope you guys have been encouraged by the conversation. We will spend another couple of weeks chatting through the Psalms. And we encourage you can watch the sermon on our YouTube channel. You can always go there and watch it in its entirety. But I hope you've been encouraged, and if we don't see you next week, we'll see you on Sunday. But have a blessed week. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Phil.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Cool. Cheers.